at this. It's amazing. You're gonna know. It's amazing. We can't put them together yet.
It's not spring break anymore.
And they can't move the phone.
Typical, everybody wants it on the back row.
Yeah. It's just like, no instructions. And things are Jimmy. I don't know, but Edson was like, I don't know if this is gonna go together. Well, I certainly think it's gonna. And then I asked Jerry, did it? He said, Jimmy, I think, yeah. It's fine.
Okay, you guys, it's 10 o'clock, so I'm gonna get started. How lucky am I that I actually got on? All right, welcome everybody. I'm so glad to see this many people in person today. I'm ready to be here. And I just know that traffic's really bad, and so there's like 500 other people just stuck out there and can't get through. So just know they wanted to hear from our great brokers today. So I'm super excited, but we even had people drive all the way down to Logan for us today. So I think cool. Okay, so welcome. Oops, I was hitting the wrong button. Okay, there we go. Anybody have any wants or needs or gratitudes or stories you want to share that makes you feel really good about the week or anything like that? Go right ahead.
I got my wife out of bed an extra 3 hours that she normally does. I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. That's a great gratitude, and we're grateful you got her out of bed too.
Yes.
Anybody else got anything they want to share?
I'm grateful that my ponies had their babies, but y'all know that already.
I actually got Cowboy Donuts in on behalf of her farm. I got to go hold her baby pony the other day. It was so cute. So there's Cowboy Donuts and kolaches. Kolache, thank you. And the ones with the little thing on the top have jalapenos in them, just know that. But if you just throw them in the microwave for like 30 seconds, they're delicious. So grab something. There's one with ham and cheese. There's one with like jalapeno ham and cheese. There's one with like, I don't know, some other meat cheese. I don't know. Eggs and cheese. I don't know. I was just like, yes, I'll take them.
And then I have one more, Jen.
Okay.
So on Stringham Real Estate School, somebody put on their thoughts and experience with Presidio. Thanks. And everybody, not just agents, blew it up about everything like, oh, that's a good company to work for. Oh my gosh, what a great brokerage. All of their agents are stellar. That just says volumes about our company statewide, and I love it. So,
thank you so much for sharing
congratulations.
that. I actually saw that this morning too, and I was so just like, oh,
That's very
how
good.
nice is this that everyone is saying such great things. I really appreciated that. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, anyone else got any gratitudes, any fire sellers that you need to talk about, anything like that? Anybody online? Okay, we're gonna move on. Who needs a broker moment when you got 5 on the panel today? I'm not giving you a broker moment this week. For those of you that are new, a broker moment is obviously like a tip for the week or a tip for your business that helps you learn certain things that will make you a better agent. Okay, here's our real estate education week at a glance. So we have 4 hours of CE this week. Is it 4? I can't see.
Yeah.
4. And then we want to hope that everyone starts to get on more on Chantel Reetz's class. You know Chantel, she's amazing. She's such a good teacher.
Except for it's at the same time as Evie's sales meeting.
Okay, yeah.
It's the same time as ours up
Oh.
there.
Is it?
And how often do you attend every sales meeting?
Yeah, seriously, Crystal. You don't know. One time you were
I do
speaking
know.
there.
You don't know.
I'm there.
Hi, call me out.
Steve comes in and out of it.
It depends on what's said.
He's like,
in
nope,
your meeting.
not today.
Because Chantal does a really good job of teaching like social media stuff for us, right? So we're trying not to have you have boring classes over and over again, which our classes are never really that boring, but try to get you things like that will help you improve your social media and stuff like that. She's great, you guys. She created this program called Shooting Stars so that it's like, we have our newer agent stuff, but we also have our seasoned agent stuff. So hop on that call on Tuesdays, okay?
I actually
What's her
took that
name?
class. Chantel.
Chantel Reed.
Branding story. Right? Story branding.
story.
Yeah.
The
Story branding.
Yeah, so how many of you know your elevator pitch of why you're better than any other agent? Huh, weird, nobody in the room.
Nobody that wants.
I don't know. It's
You're
last.
that
You know what's so funny is agents struggle with this more than anything in their business. They don't know how to convey their value. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here. You get a broker moment after all. But really, this story, branding your own story, you guys have got to learn that. You've got to know how to say, why do you want to choose me as a realtor over anybody else you're going to interview? Okay. Okay. Moving on. Any questions, thoughts? Okay. Congratulations to our closers last week. It looks like, oh, I didn't see a total up there.
47.
47, oh, down at the bottom, 47 closings last week. Congratulations, everybody. We have a few multiples in there. Let's see, is anybody in here that? No, he's trying to do this one and like stumped.
Just me. I'm the only one.
Crystal Worthing,
Everyone else
yes,
yes,
congratulations. Okay,
That's
anybody else
awesome.
you see on there that's your name's up there? Congratulations, everybody. Wait, good week. All right, no announcements. Let's go to, Amy's not here today. Paul Wynn is here with Lunetta. Paul,
All right, we're going to stand,
right in the middle.
I'm going to stand right. from the
Yeah. For sure.
You'll regret that.
Well, that's probably
Just
true.
stand right there, right there.
Let's stand right here. Okay, I'll take it over here. So, just real quick, I know we've got some power, house hitters up here and want to let's get to that as soon as possible, but just want to talk to you quickly about interest rates. I know there's probably been some challenges in the market, right? With buyers trying to get qualified or maybe getting scared to buy a house now. I'm working with a Presidio agent right now with one of her buyers. We've been working with him for like 5 months. And so like back in the fall, when we got to qualified, interest rates were way lower, right? And so they're able to qualify for like $1.25 million. And they just kept on waiting and waiting and waiting. And now they're looking at like 5.5% interest rates with jumbo loans. And now their purchasing power has diminished greatly. And so we probably gotta have some contract for them over the weekend, and we're trying to be creative with some things that they had. And so what we did is we actually, by doing a first mortgage, like going up to the maximum conventional loan of $647,200, and then going on with a second on that, was able to get them an additional $150,000 qualify wise. And so I know that might scare a few people because the second is an adjustable, but we can fix that for like 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. And one thing to understand about the market is if you look at the industry and the history of it, if you follow that, history is pretty likely to repeat, right? And so there will be a time in probably the next 2 or 3 years, don't hold me to the word because I'm not a person who can guarantee things. If you follow the history of it, you're going to see a correction in the market. And so my best guess, listen to a lot of the experts in the industries who follow this even deeper than I do, is that I think you'll see a correction to where rates will probably fall down to 3s, maybe down to the 2s again. So if they go with the adjustable mortgage on the second, in the next 3-4 years, they can refinance that into a more manageable interest rate. So my point is that let's talk to your clients who may have some struggling issues they're dealing with, and we'll be creative and help them find the right product for their needs. And so come and talk to us. We'll find a solution for you. All right.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you. Hopeful, right? When we feel like we can tell our clients, see, you're waiting, maybe the interest rates are up, but might come back down. All right, Obio's here. Yeah, come on up.
I'm here. I'm not Grant, but
No, you're not.
I'm Tanner, but I'm here. I'm like Grant. So, yes, we are a partner for photography. So, all your photography needs, drone, Matterport, all of that we can do. The way that our system's built, it's pretty cool. You can kind of design what you want. Like if you have a condo and you only want 15 photos and you just select 15 photos, and that's going to be a lot cheaper than doing like a package that already has 25 or whatever it is. So you can kind of customize exactly what you want with our system, and it makes it super easy. To try us out, you can get 50% off on the first one. So you can be like $60-70 for a full photo shoot on your first one if you want to try us out. So let me know if you're interested. I'll give you like a promo code and stuff to be able to do that. And all the shoots come with like the marketing suite. So you have property website, brochures, and links to all your social media, and it all comes with all of that. So that's OBO. So let us know for your photography.
Well, Tanner, tell
needs.
them how fast you get photos back.
So when we do the photo shoot, you have them back at like 7 a.m. the next morning.
So less than 24 hours.
Less than 24 hours. Yeah.
Find me another photographer that does that.
Yeah, very fast. You have them right back. So
And they're good quality too.
Yeah,
yeah,
great.
they're all HDR, like super high quality photos.
And I love the a la carte because there
Yeah.
really isn't one package that fits for everyone. Wait, was that Annie?
Yes.
Oh, she was not unmuted.
So you have drone and Matterport, and all-
Yeah.
every add-on,
Yeah,
Twilight.
virtual Twilight. There's
What's virtual Twilight?
they take a normal photo and make it
Oh.
look like it's
So
Twilight.
you don't have to time it perfectly.
Yeah, so it's
They don't wanna
a
look
lot
at the
cheaper.
What didn't
I never know
Yeah.
that?
I didn't either.
Right, that's a lot cheaper
Sending
than
me
having
over
someone
sky.
go out, to do the Twilight shoot or whatever. We could just do a virtual one. So that's
And these guys are all over the state. They
Yeah.
can pretty much do any of our office locations,
Right.
correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't even charge
about
extra
Park
for like
City?
Logan.
I
No.
love that.
Park City.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
no extra charges in like Logan, Park City, St. George,
That's
everywhere.
amazing.
So
Love that.
yeah, we're.
Okay, you guys,
we're good.
don't forget our
So-
preferred.
Can I have one of those
Yeah,
things
you
in
have
your
fun.
hand?
Yeah, on the QR code, if you scan that, then that's how you'll get the 50% off.
I'll show you how to do that
Awesome.
later.
Thank you so much.
You
Hannah.
are- I'm still working. Hey, I'm an
Yeah, I
expert.
would
I
love
went to Disney.
I don't think you run it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have some of that.
We'll share.
If you wanted to eat, you better learn how to do it.
All right, you guys, I'm so excited about our class today because they say to be successful, you should always duplicate yourself. And I just have to let you know, I have not done that. I've not duplicated myself. I wish I do have a twin sister, but I have not duplicated
That's pretty
myself.
close.
I have attracted people better than me. And so those are our brokers, and there's many more that aren't on the panel today, but I'm so excited to have them here because you guys get to ask all the questions you ask me all the time, and they get to give you better answers than I give you. So I'm super excited to have all our panel here today. So I'll just introduce everybody so that you know who they are. Steve Perry is our COO, and he is also the president of the Salt Lake Board, if you didn't know that. He has been a broker for how many years?
22.
22 years. And he is principal broker for a lot of big companies. So he knows a lot of questions. I'm sure he has gotten more questions than all of us combined in his entire career. And we have Dennis Perry. He's our broker over our Idaho branch, and he offices out of our Logan branch. So Dennis has also been a broker for how long?
28 years.
28 years. So same thing. He's probably dealt with a lot of questions. Dennis also has so much wisdom. He's been through 3 downturns.
You
Is that
saying I'm
correct?
old?
I will.
Steve said it, not me.
Yeah.
3 downturns he's been through. I'm telling you guys, how many of you have been through at least one? How much did you learn? So much, right? Can you imagine the wisdom this guy has just from going through downturns? And he's still here. Right? We love Dennis. And then we have Evie. She is out of our South Jordan branch office. She's the broker there. And Evie has been an agent for 6 years, 7,
Broker 2-ish.
broker 2. And she has quickly
Sounds
built
good.
her branch and has a culture like nobody's business up there. If you've ever been to her office, it's amazing. So we love Evie, and I'm sure she has a lot of great experience and answer for us today too. And then we have Dawn, who is just a new broker in the last 2 years. Yeah,
But in
but
the
you've been in
industry
the
for
industry.
33 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's also
Wow.
been in the industry in other states, in Florida.
In Florida, and also worked for Freddie Mac in Florida as their REO. Florida's an attorney state, so I was their REO director and I did closings. Okay, are you ready for this? For 100 deals every single month, and I had a team that I ran
Crazy.
as a paralegal.
So the amount of information she has is very vast as well. So we're so excited. So what you get to do today is ask questions about deals you're dealing with. I also have some if you get shy like you do on our broker, in our gratitude moment. But if you guys have anything you want to start, go ahead and we'll let the brokers decide who wants to answer. Here we go with the shyness. You didn't come here with questions for your broker?
I
Okay.
got one. Okay, so I don't know, I'm sure you guys have had these calls too, where you have investors, that message you and say, hey, I'm looking for a property to flip. If you find anything, I'll let you represent me, but then they want to know the address so they can do their own comps. I know we need to have like a buyer broker agreement with them. And you also have to, like I found a for sale by owner that obviously they want to sell and they're okay paying a commission. I need to have that document in place. But how do you, like, for instance, one example I have an investor right now that says, I'm like, well, what's the name I should put on the contract so that I can tell the seller I'm representing you and I get paid a commission? And he said, well, I do a trust for each property and the trust name is the property address. So how do you avoid getting
Can
messed
I
around?
address that?
Yes.
I just got an email for one of those people just now. First thing I tell them or ask them is I need a qualification letter. I need to know a documentation and who that trust is in. That weeds them out fast. If they're not willing to give you that information, then I don't work with them.
What's a qualification letter?
Just like you do for a normal
Proof of
proof of funds.
Yeah,
Proof-
proof of
proof
funds,
of
or if you're doing
funds.
a lender.
Go ahead, Don.
No, or even ask them for a trust agreement and say, look, I know you create these trust agreements on a daily basis. Can you show me another trust agreement that you have?
What you're trying to do is weed these people out.
Yeah, well, I don't want to give them properties I've found that I haven't listed yet myself.
Then
but
you
I'm
need to be
okay.
aggressive and go get an exclusive buyer signed by them. If they're not willing to sign that, you move on.
Totally.
Exclusive buyer or exclusive seller?
It's- They're a buyer.
Right,
so
right.
Exclusive buyer.
Well, and they're willing to do that, but when I ask what name I should put on that document, he's like, well, we're gonna do it through a trust, and the trust I make up for each property as we buy it, and it's just, the trust name is the
You-
address.
And I
Then
keep,
get another
you-
copy of another trust. that
you,
they've
you
done.
can't just make up a trust like
You
that.
can't.
So,
Makes sense.
can I add something there is, there's gonna be a name on that purchase agreement.
Right.
That's not the trust, and that is the name that they should be giving you,
Yeah.
and so,
There's always a signer for the
Yeah.
trust.
and a lot of that is just fishing.
How are they gonna pay for the property,
Yeah,
Yeah, they have to.
right? They're gonna have a way to prove they have the funds to purchase that property.
exactly.
Cassandra?
There's gotta be a name or something on that.
So I would like to add to this, to basically think of it as if somebody wants to purchase with a business name. Even if they're purchasing the business name, I always advise them, you can always deed it into the business name at closing, but put your name as the business owner on
Good
the
point.
agreement.
Or we see end in our signs, we've seen that quite often.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's what he says he does. We put the
I see
trust name
that.
and or sign.
I have an investor that we do business with all the time, and they do the trust, but I think it is, we always ask for a copy of it so we can see how it's written up.
Right.
So just get a copy of that. or
But if
just-
it's not established
If it's
yet,
not,
then.
yeah.
And I'm so sorry, I forgot to introduce Stacy Dunn.
Okay,
It was a whirlwind today, so I apologize. But great to have an escrow officer here in the office, so she can talk to us about.
But we see that all the time, so end or signs is probably the best.
Great, thank you so much. Matt, did you have a question?
No, I'm okay, thanks.
Oh, sure, yeah. All right, that was your chance.
Thank you.
Okay, no more questions for you. Just kidding. All right, anyone else have anything else? A question?
We're online.
Anybody online have a question?
There's one in there.
Okay, Sarah has one.
I just want to know what you guys are seeing as far as commissions on the buyer side being, we have builders out there that are doing 1%. Sometimes commissions are being listed as like $1. How do you guys see these conversations going with your buyers? As far as, do you see this as a trend more going that way?
Anybody want to take that one?
My last one with a developer was 3%, but it was surprising.
Yeah, I bet.
You're like, what?
I get
Three? This is Christmas. Otherwise they've been 2, is what I've been seeing.
Too. I've never seen anything down to $1.
No.
Yeah.
So I do believe it's somewhat of a trend because of the market right now. I think builders do not believe they need us. And unfortunately, it's sad because they'll burn a lot of bridges in this market. And then they will, when they do need us through the downturns we're gonna go through, they are going to, we'll remember that, right? So we know of 1 or 2 builders that 100% say they will never discount that commission at 3%. And yet there's a lot of them that just go, I don't really need you. I can sell this tomorrow if I needed to. Any thoughts there, any brokers?
Well, you go in and this is hard for the buyer side, but when you get a buyer agency signed, there's that 3%, 2%, whatever you put in there, and educate them that if I'm only gonna get 1%, are you willing to make the difference up? That's still a little tough for a potential buyer because they might not qualify if they're gonna pay for that extra one or additional. But then we have to negotiate a little bit. But if they've committed, they'll do it, and then they go to the loan officer and they can't make it work. Well, let's find out what it is and see. But they're saying, I want you to represent me. So that's another avenue.
Thank you for bringing that up. Can I ask how many people have actually enforced a 3% on their VA's buyer broker? See, very few do.
It's because you're scared to do it.
And.
No
because
offense,
you
I don't know
how
you.
to convey your value, right? And so,
Way to make friends.
that means you're all gonna be on Tuesday's class to learn how to convey your value, right? So you can say why I need that 3% or whatever it is, right? Dennis, do you have a good example of how to have that conversation when you're going over the buyer broker?
I have a list.
I love that.
And we talk about it and what I'm gonna be doing for them, driving them around, being taxis driver. Right now, it's been easy because you go, wait a minute, we're gonna be dealing with multiple counters. Do you know how to handle that? This is what I'm gonna be doing for you. And I give them examples of 22 offers are gonna be coming in, you're gonna lose it. So it's the relationship that needs to be created first. It's not really a list of, this is what I can do. I think it's the relationship.
I love that.
It's also
Thank you.
setting the expectation for your client as well.
With that being said, not a lot of people have enforced their buyer broker. How many of you have had a listing and had a buyer show up unrepresented this last year? Wow, why do you think that's happening?
Because buyers don't really realize that, like, most of the time, they don't have to pay for that. Like, they think, oh my gosh, I gotta pay 6% if I'm gonna have this person help me.
Well,
write
they
an
really
offer
think
on
they're
this
gonna
size.
get a good deal in this market. Have you seen any unrepresented buyers get a better deal?
No,
So again, are we teaching people our value, teaching people what we do for them? Are we having conversations? Are we creating relationships? Yes, Robin.
One thing that I've heard from unrepresented buyers is I go out and I do my own homework and then I involve my agent, which, isn't right.
They're always at your open houses too now.
Yeah.
They say, well, my mom and dad have never used a realtor. I says, well, let's see how many houses have they bought. They bought 4 over the last, I says, I do 50 a year. Who has more experience?
I love that you said that. That's good. Thank you, Debbie. Yes.
Well, and I had one where I was a listing agent, obviously, and the buyer came along, was interested in putting in an offer. He was out of town, wanted to see the property, so he asked if a friend could come see it, if I could walk him through. So I walked his friend through. I even sent him video of the property. And then when it came down to, I needed to get him to sign a document that said, I'm an unrepresented buyer. Basically, I'm okay with that. He had bought multiple properties before, so he felt like he was okay with that. And I was fine with him doing that. But once I had to explain, I don't represent you, you're gonna have to represent yourself. And I made that very clear. He finally said, well, I'm okay if you represent me. After he started thinking it through, he's like, well, it doesn't cost me anything, right? And I'm like, no, it doesn't. So
Remember,
anyways.
there's a form in our MLS that goes through buyer agency and the representation process. And so you show them that, go through it thoroughly. They do what your
Yeah,
client
he
just
changed
did.
his
Oh, wait
mind
a
and I
minute,
didn't
this
have
is.
to sell him on me at all. The fact that I was willing to let him represent himself, but then told him that I needed to have him sign a document that made it clear that he is representing himself. I do represent the seller. Basically, he's on his own.
And another factor we need to remember that the listing agents already got a contract with them on the fees, on the commission fees.
This is one of our questions. Can we clarify with the question and have you finish this, Dennis?
I forgot what the question was.
She'll say it.
I'll say it right
She
now.
hasn't said it yet.
Hang on.
Hey,
Yes.
Jen, we have Brandon online that has a comment.
Oh, hi, Brandon. Hang on one second. Let's finish this topic really. Oh, are you talking about the topic? Okay, go ahead, Brandon.
I was just going to add that one of the things that the unrepresented buyers will come in and say is like, hey, your list price is $850,000. I take off the 3% commission. I'm going to be saving, $25,000. I stop them right there and I say, hey, wait, that is not your right to negotiate. That is between the seller and the broker. So your price is $850,000. So you're gonna either take this with representation or take it without representation. It's your risk.
That's
But
a
we're
good
not
way to say
negotiating
that.
that piece.
I love that. That's a good way to say that. Yep.
When I started in the business, like 15 to 17 years ago, whenever, that was like so common. People were going to these seminars and actually learning how to do that. And it was just constant, like they wanted the 3%. So it sounds like maybe it's coming back again.
Yes.
I think so.
How many
They're not
sellers,
member, that's why
how
we
many
have the whole
sellers do you know out
November.
there that are willing to give 3% to somebody?
No.
Zero.
Yeah.
They're not even willing to take $20,000 over appraised value right now. They want their.
That's when we
So-
started enforcing if you're not a member of the MLS, you're not, you know, due compensation. And so now I know, like, that's always been there kind of,
Yeah.
but now the MLS is actually putting it on every listing.
Right. So I didn't write the question down, but really one of the questions I get often, I'm sure you guys do as brokers, is how much commission do I get if an unrepresented buyer comes to my listing?
Whatever you put in the exclusive listing agreement.
Okay,
In the
and how
story.
come our agents don't understand that?
Well, I think Brandon said it best, you know, on no negotiation. If I'm working with representing the seller.
Right.
So, and then what we get a lot is the agents will come back and say, I want more or whatever that way. You're not in that place to negotiate with me. I've already negotiated, take it or leave it, move on. It's going to change down the road. What we're seeing as the market starts slowing down, flattening, and it's already starting to do it up in Cache Valley. There's all kinds of creative ways that they're going to come in so they can get that price down now, where we've been having them as high as we want, or the sellers have. We're going to start seeing that come in at different alternatives. Well, I'm going to give up my, I'll give you this price if the seller will reduce the commission by 3% or 2 or 3. So.
Well, I want to be very specific of what I mean on the listing agreement, because I get this question so often and it blows my mind that people don't understand their contracts. The listing agreement says the list price, the commission is between the seller and the listing brokerage. And what number do you put in that box? 5, 6, whatever you want to do, right? And then there's another number.
Yeah.
And what does it say? What do the words say below that?
It's authorized
So
to
we are,
share.
thank you, we are authorized to share this much to a buyer's agent.
Yes.
Does that mean that we 100% are giving that away if an unrepresented buyer comes? No. So read your contracts, understand what they're saying. I'm surprised how many agents ask me that. How much do I get if an unrepresented buyer comes? Well, how much does your listing agreement say? That's how much you get. Okay, you are authorized to share if you'd like. You're even authorized to tell your seller, guess what? I'm gonna do you a favor and give you 1% back. Because I'm gonna do both sides.
I do go one more step. I always let my seller know that an individual from a listing agent or a buyer agent or even an investor came and says, hey, they're willing to do this, but they want the commission reduced. I feel an obligation to let the seller know that I have that. What I know, my client needs to know.
Right.
And so I've never once had any of my sellers say, well, no, that's what we agreed to, or you deserve that, or so I feel really good about myself.
Well, you have attorneys come and say, I'll write it up myself,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
and they want a deal.
Yeah, we've had a couple of that way. I said, well, you charge too much anyway, so.
I have a lot of sellers ask me that, like, okay, well, what are you gonna do if someone comes and they don't have an agent? Like, am I paying you 2 commissions, or what are you gonna do? So
What do you say?
because I'm a coward, I usually say, well, we'll get to that bridge when it happens, but I can see what services I can discount and maybe we can work something out. I'm happy to also have another agent in my office represent them. But I don't do limited agency, so there's that.
So
And I
can
think
I,
it's important to tell, sorry, Dennis.
I want to just don't, you
Okay,
don't, I go right off the cuff.
do
here.
it.
Make that decision before you start moving forward.
Yeah.
Because the buyers only hear what they want to hear, or the seller wants to hear. So take that for what it's worth. I
I
don't
love
want.
that. Abby, good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, discuss that up front with your sellers every single time, so that when it happens, it's not, well, now we have to cross this bridge.
Yeah,
It's, you already told me this could happen, so we already have a plan.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of do that, just.
Well, I'm sure you do.
I even go as far as add a listing addendum and write out, if I agree that I'll give 1% back to the seller. I agree if a buyer comes unrepresented, I'll do 1%, and then it's clear and in writing, which is what we're supposed to be doing, right? Okay, and then there's no surprises, and then you aren't stuck holding the bag going, oh, when they go, gosh, will you give us 3% back at that moment? Okay, I have a question for Dawn.
Oh, boy.
How do I put a home in backup
I didn't know we
position?
could bring paper.
Or how
and
do I
study.
accept an offer?
Well, I'm old school. There's this thing called a secondary backup contract addendum. And I highlighted the areas that you need to read. It's really quite simple. I mean, how many people have represented sellers where you have multiple offers and two of them are exactly identical? But one of them in backup position, because how many times has our first offers gone haywire? I've had it happen to myself several times. Sometimes their loan, something happens. The HOA was higher than they anticipated, and that $100 extra is going to put them over the edge and they're not going to get their loan. That's why we have our secondary. I mean, the board actually does a really great job in trying to prevent you from practicing being an attorney, and they write this stuff up for your protection. So utilize the forms that are there. There are a lot of forms. If you don't know if they have a form for the specific, ask your broker, because they probably do have a form.
So what do you have highlighted on that?
So this just basically says, because we had a question regarding how do you cancel the backup contract. So it says the buyer's right to cancel at any time prior to the backup contract being the primary contract. Buyer may cancel the backup contract by providing written notice to seller. So what does that mean? Written notice? Email. It's simple. Just send them, hey, we're backing out. We're under contract on another home. It's that simple.
And I think sometimes that what agents struggle with, and this is why I get this question a lot, is, but I'm accepting another offer. Well, right, with the addendum that says you are clearly a backup offer.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Second position.
Yeah.
Second position.
And then how many backups can you accept? One. Thank you.
Just one.
There was this time where we would hold offers and say, I'll let you know, you're third in line, right? But not necessarily accept backup offers. Okay, Steve.
So the only exception to that is doing a short sale when the bank has a policy that says,
Right.
we'll look at 10 offers and you'll hold all those offers.
You did have to bring up that negative word.
It could happen.
It's coming back our way.
It's coming back.
Tyler online has a question or his hand raised. Tyler?
Yeah, well, if this subject is done, for next question, sorry.
Oh, great, let's do it.
So I am sure other people have this question. I have a way that I handle it, but as far as you have someone that wants to buy a new house, but they have one that they need to sell as well. And they're going, I don't want to list my house right now because I don't know where I'm going to go. So I'm running into that a lot right now of, well, we can't move until we find something, but we can't find something, so we're not moving. Obviously, we need more listings. So other suggestions on ways people handle that? I know there's the, you can keep market or give the seller the option to cancel the contract if they don't find suitable housing. That addendum on the MLS to give them some protection. But if there's any other suggestions as far as, how to combat some of those concerns.
Abby?
I think the most important thing is asking the builder what their procedure is first, because some builders will let you write a contingent and some will say your house has to be fully sold before we'll even write this contract. So I've been facing that a lot where that you have to move twice or get a very long lease back. But then some builders are saying, we know your home will sell. We're fine with this.
Right.
So first get that procedure clear before you have your client list their house, just in case.
Right.
What if it's not a builder? It's just a
Lease
seller.
back.
Yeah, just do a lease back.
So much easier. Then you don't have the contingencies, and just if you don't get a lease back long enough, educate your seller that they don't have to accept any contracts. If none of them have a long enough lease back, you don't have to do it.
Sell.
Or pay for the lease back. If they won't give you a free one, say, is it worth it to you to have the security of your home being sold? And we're just gonna have to pay whatever their mortgage is for 3-4 months. That could be worth it to them.
Some of the PG agents have heard me talk about my catch-22, which is where I go in and with a listing agreement and say, oh, don't worry, I have the catch-22 that not a lot of agents know about. And that is your offer is accepted subject to the seller finding residence, and you can put 6 months in there if you want. Does anyone have experience with using that and it not working?
I think it can scare buyers sometimes. If
But
you-
buyers are willing to get their first child right now.
This is
so.
true. I don't get it either.
So I wonder how many wouldn't accept that if they got their offer accepted,
I
right?
think their agent isn't educating them. They get the addendum and they're just scared of it.
Yeah.
And they're saying the seller can cancel the contract, but we'll have an inspection and appraisal and we'll already be in $1,000. And what do we do? And if their agent isn't educating them on how it's okay,
Yeah.
then it could not work, but it's great.
Well, and
addendum.
you could always throw in there, we would reimburse buyer for all costs or something like that. Cassandra, sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No,
Mine's just
I
a
couldn't tell who
comment
had their
on
hand
that
up
that
first.
happens, so.
Go ahead, you're good.
Just reiterating on this, make sure that you actually identify the leaseback terms up front and don't try to change it days before closing.
Great
because
idea.
That, yeah, I recently
had
had to
that.
go, yeah.
Yeah.
They're like,
Wait
wait
a
a
minute.
close where they wanted a 30-day lease back. It was agreed upon acceptance. 4 days before closing, all of a sudden I get a text from the listing agent saying, hey, by the way, they want 60 days, not 30, and they want it to be for free.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the very end. of
So
it,
that was
it's
fun.
Paul, Paul, you can sit down by the way.
No, I'm good,
Okay.
thank you. I'm just clarifying, so you're saying that the seller is afraid to sell the house, so they can't find, they don't know where they're
Yeah.
gonna go.
Right.
So you're suggesting that they do a lease back on their house if they can.
Yeah, like
Something?
put it on the market, tell the buyers we're planning on leasing back for 6 months or
Right.
do subject to the buyer, seller finding a
Subject,
house
yeah.
for 6 months or whatever it
Thanks, I just wanted to clarify it in my head what we're talking about.
Can you only do, you can only do a lease back for 59 days, right, Paul?
I was just gonna say that.
Well, it depends on your loan types, right?
Depends on the loan.
FHA
Right,
and
right.
VA,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't put more than 59 days.
Right.
That's a
Right.
really good point, 'cause
I was
that's.
just gonna say that.
Isn't
very
that the
big
same
difference.
for
And people will
sellers?
send you offers with a 90-day lease back and an FHA addendum.
It's not,
And you
it's
have to
not
look at that.
listed as an FHA, type, an
Yeah.
FHA product.
Tyler has another comment, I think.
No, I think that was just from the previous hand raise. I will say that I did have this situation where I was on the buyer's side and the seller's agent was trying to give us the, contingency for the seller to find suitable housing. And we negotiated the lease back because I did not want the seller to be able to cancel on us later. I think, the lease backs are obviously a great way to go. Unfortunately for those sellers, they have to move twice now because they couldn't find a house
Yeah.
that worked for the timing. Because we had the 60-day requirement, but we went as far out as we could, but unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't always work out. So I always check with my sellers, if we can't time this out, do you have somewhere you can go in the meantime?
Yeah, for sure. Brandon, did you have a thought too?
I'd be hard pressed if I was representing a buyer and that was the condition, because what other houses could they potentially be missing in the meantime while they're under contract?
Sure.
If it's just an uncertainty. One thing that I would do if I was presenting this to one of my clients as a seller is I would say, let's see first if there's any lending options that would allow you to carry 2 mortgages for a short-term period of time. That's
a great
There's some like bridge loans and stuff like that
Yeah,
that
for
are
sure.
available for that type of situation.
For sure. Okay, if you guys can try and put your hands down on lines, I don't bug you. You were next.
Yeah, so I'm under contract with some buyers. We are doing a long close because the seller needed more time. So we're closing the end of May. My buyers are letting them have 30 days to move out. So the end of June is when they're supposed to move out. The seller has a special needs adult child in diapers that's 23. And the seller emotionally really doesn't want to move from the family's house that her dad passed away from and she inherited. So how do you avoid any hiccup of getting to that end of that 30 days and them not moving out?
We had a huge class about this at one point with our property manager in here.
So did you use the short-term lease back or no? Because it was just 30 days. So on the contract, you just changed possession.
We changed possession to 30 days. So what else do I need to put in place? Because we still have time.
On the lease back, you can do the holdover tenant amount. So then every day that they stay after, they'd have to pay a fee. And you could put a higher fee if you really don't want them to stay any longer. Or you can just divide out the mortgage by 30 days and put that per day.
Well, it is a VA loan, so they only have 59 days to actually take possession. If we're giving them 30 days up front, the sellers are gonna need, or the buyers are gonna need time to actually move into the property at some point. too. So there's.
So
not a
are
lot
they
to-
put their heels down and they don't want to sell? Is it gonna become that?
She knows she has to sell.
Okay.
But even when we walked through, the owner actually came back and was crying and emotional. I mean, she's got a lot going on with everything that she's dealing with. So we've been very patient, and understanding, but I'm just trying to put my ducks in a row to overcome any hurdles that could be possible to avoid that up front.
Sounds like you've done about everything plus.
Yeah, just make sure everything's in writing.
I need to talk to her.
So if you keep it as just the contract of the sale, then I believe you have more legal at that time of taking possession than you do if you did a lease back and they become
With
a
the
tenant.
holdover, right, because it has a no end date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, Robin should be up there too.
Yeah.
Come on, Robin. I think we asked all our brokers on our broker phone, if somebody volunteered.
I
I'm
agree
sorry,
what
Sherry,
she's
you had-
saying.
what did-
I just
Late-
wonder where that 60 days comes from, is that by, because it's.
FHA.
Paul can help us out with that. What does the 60 days come from on the FHA and VA loans?
Where does
Is
that come
it just
from?
those two kind of loans, or is it any?
Yeah, those are
They're
just
owner
the rules on the
occupied
federal
loans.
loans. I mean,
They just don't want someone using government money to buy, get a home and then become a landlord.
Cause it's a private residence and they're
Right.
expected to live in there. in a
Right.
certain-
Yeah.
in a reasonable amount of
Same
time,
theory
like a
about
conventional
renting.
law
You know.
is
Conventional.
Robin, you need to
different
go
animal.
back and explain why she should keep that in the late, like, I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, so within the contract, that is a legal contract, binding contract.
Yeah,
The
the
30
rest-
days you take possession. If you do a lease back, then you run into the tenant,
And the eviction.
and eviction and all that. And they're not a tenant for another 30 days.
Right.
So then they could just keep staying and keep
Yeah.
paying.
Yeah, with the whole-
Then you gotta get an eviction with the sheriff coming and
Yeah.
where the legal contract is.
So just keep it with the rest.
Yeah, it's a little more
Thank you.
difficult to
Yeah.
evict and compromise person as well.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the next question. How do I ask for a higher BAC, Steve? If they're only offering one or two?
There's an addendum for that.
Oh, is there? Tell us more. I'm the moderator.
So it's the buyer asking the seller through an addendum. It's not part of the original REPC, but it's an addendum to the REPC that says, in addition to what's being offered, I would like this amount also offered, and send it in.
And Steve, do you recommend they do that with the REPC, or do you recommend they use a brokerage escrow commission agreement
Mm-mm. Don't use either. Use that addendum, what I just said.
with their offer?
Yeah, with their
Yeah, so with the
offer.
REPC.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So if
that,
they reject that, does that reject the whole offer? I'm asking it to see what the big boys think.
yeah, oh, me, so if it's part of, if you sent it in as part of the original REPC, yeah, it rejects the whole offer,
Yeah.
the whole
So
thing.
before you do that, say, how many offers do you have?
Right, good question to ask.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
because, yeah.
Is that because it's attached to the whole REPC and they don't want to pay that extra percentage and they reject it, then you've rejected the whole offer?
So it's having communication with that listing agent ahead of time, and if they don't like that, then they can counter it in an addendum.
Right,
Yeah,
just remove it.
And they added that section to the REPC where it says other, and you can write out escrow instructions, where they didn't used to have that. And so if the escrow instructions weren't actually a part of the contract, they could just pretend they didn't see it. Like, oh, I didn't get that attachment where you asked for.
Well, and do
3%.
they have to respond to escrow instructions?
No,
No, they can
No.
accept your offer. Does that mean your escrow instructions are accepted?
The escrow
No.
instructions are not attached to the
Correct.
contract. It's not. a-
So my question again,
It's a
all
whole
brokers,
lot.
all brokers, my question again is, do you think we should use the addendum or the escrow instructions?
the addendum.
I think it depends. I think it depends. Yeah,
How much do you want this 3%?
yeah, right. It's
Do you want to
like,
be done showing houses?
And so if it's later on in the transaction, you use the real estate broker escrow instructions to get
yeah,
to have
and they
adjustment.
don't have to approve it.
Yeah,
One thing I'm kind of excited about is soon, I believe, we might be putting the seller's commission on the MLS. And so if there's agents out there that are getting a 3 but offering you a 2.
Would you tell us why you're excited about that?
Yeah.
Because
There's
there's many
agents
agents
that
out there
undercut
that do
other
that.
agents. They
Yeah.
say, I'll take a 5% listing,
Yeah.
but they take the 3 and give you the.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm excited.
I've seen that.
I have that,
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
Only he lied to me. He
Yeah.
says I gotta give another part. I won't go.
Hey,
there.
Crystal, you'll love this. You're the one always taking the 1% listings.
I know.
They're not gonna go after your commission. But you can go after the ones that are taking more than they're offering, right?
I think there was a reference that was kind of like their business model.
It is,
Yes.
yes.
Like you
Yes.
take 4 and you offer 2 to be, or you take 3.5 and.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that should be good. It will bring disclosure to our business again, more disclosure.
Yep.
Okay, Evie, I have a question for you. How do I activate a time clause?
Oh, I've had so many people asking me this lately.
Oh, that's a
So,
perfect question for you.
right, so if you're on the selling side, this is amazing.
I know.
There's a form for that. I printed out the questions and I wrote like little answers, and she brought every form that the NOI has. Anyway, so you would use seller's notice to buyer of accepted offer, time clause notice. You have to give them written notice that you have accepted an offer and activated their time clause, which is interesting. I've been seeing a lot of time clauses lately. So I don't know what that kind of signifies. I have one more point on the last question though. I think this is a really good time to make good relationships with other agents if you are in the situation where there is a lower BAC offered. So I ran into an agent that I had done a deal with in the past. It was a 2% BAC, and he wrote me a text. It wasn't an email or anything. And he said, if you want more commission, just ask. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So
But isn't it awesome that you had that relationship beforehand, that he had the comfort level to send you that text to tell you? Because that comes from, volunteering and being involved in different events. So good for that agent.
Good for them.
You
good
wanna
for
tell
them.
them?
Yeah, no, that's bad.
I'm not saying, I'm not naming names.
That is a breach of your fiduciary confidentiality.
For him.
You just
with the seller.
negotiated our commission. You're in trouble.
But that would be assuming that he's not taking more and saying, I can give you some.
We don't know the full picture.
Right.
I think it was his sister's listing, so.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a red flag to me
Yeah.
right away. So
Yeah, that's a
We
good
don't tell
point.
Steve.
then you have to ask more questions, right?
Right.
So,
Well, I'm not even done with this story. It gets even more interesting. So
Maybe you
then,
don't want it.
Yeah.
no, well, Steve,
Yeah.
plug your ears. So they ended up, I sent the escrow instructions and I said, if more offers come in, please remove these. I don't want to jeopardize my client's offer. And so another offer came in and he said, hey, I actually did get another one, but if I remove your escrow instructions, then we'll give it to you because we had done another deal that went very well together. And he wanted his sister's deal to go well. So anyway, Steve, don't listen, but.
So that brings up a question I have with all these multiple offers. As a listing agent, do I have the right to call and then negotiate? Hey, if you'll do this or you do that, I can see that yours gets in. Is that?
That happens to me a lot.
if you have the seller's permission ahead of time, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, that's the caveat, because otherwise you're not supposed to discuss
Otherwise,
it.
no.
Get the key there? Permission, disclose.
Yeah.
That's the answer to almost every question when a listing agent is asking me a question, and it's, what does your seller want you to do?
Totally.
You shouldn't be making this decision.
That's right.
This isn't your house or your money.
Right. Well, back to the time clause thing, we have Sherry Lynn in here. She had a really interesting experience because she was I would say, more experienced agent in this transaction, and she wrote a time clause with her clients. Oh, no, the buyer wrote a time clause with her listing.
So, want me to tell a story?
Please do.
Okay, yeah, Jen was so kind. She took my call because I'm like, this is interesting. So we, the market is shifting a little bit. So we made an offer with a home sale condition, my buyer.
Your buyer did.
Home is not even listed. They had a cute little cottage in Holbrook. It was gonna sell quickly, so they accepted our offer. With a home sale condition, they did not put a time clause on us. And so this was a less experienced seller's agent. Time clause was never mentioned, and I'm like, whew,
Yeah.
they can't bump us out. 2 weeks into the contract, he's like, oh, I forgot to do a time clause. We want to add it now. And I'm like, no, and we rejected it. And I think what's happening, so time clauses have always been kind of misunderstood, even, 5-10 years ago when we did a lot of them. But now we have less experienced agents that have never worked in a market with a home sale condition and time clauses, and they don't understand. The purpose of the time clause was like, okay, we've got this one buyer. Everything looks great, and we'll let you go list your home, but for like the next 2 weeks, we're gonna have the option to maybe bump you out. if you don't get your home sold quickly and perform quickly, we're not just gonna wait indefinitely. This is back when it used to take 6 months to sell a home. Well, now, you know, it's different. So be careful, visit with your brokers, make sure you understand them before you present them or accept them.
Yeah.
Just to,
Go ahead. You're wiser.
side note on time clauses, it doesn't always just have to be based on the sale of a house. A time clause has other conditions that can go there.
Yeah.
What other conditions can go there?
Oh, I've got to,
Surveys.
you know, it could be surveys. I'm getting back in Cache Valley, but I gotta get the septic tag checked, you know, things that
Soil,
are
new construction.
environmental,
Yeah.
and things that might take longer to get done. Go
That's
ahead.
great advice.
Yeah.
I've actually had agents, newer agents that you mentioned, think that because you rejected that now the whole contract's done and rejected as well. And I've said, come back. I said, no, we're still under contract, right? And so their brokers aren't teaching them a lot of their basic stuff like that.
Good
So
point.
be careful that they're thinking that way.
Great
So-
point. Love that. Thank you. All right, this one goes to Dennis.
Uh-oh.
Am I allowed to give a buyer a rebate, or how do I get money back to the buyers for repairs at closing?
Well, the first question I want to do is that, or the first thing is I want to talk to the loan officer and see what type of loan they're getting and go with the fact of, from there, can I help them out with their closing costs? Can I reduce my commission? And then really they instruct you from there how they want it handled. There'll be times that my wife and I we'll buy them a refrigerator or something because it's an old 78 home, you know, we actually will wait and do that after.
Okay.
And so that doesn't mix up the underwriting. But the key is to talk to the loan officer.
Well, and that brings up the next question, which usually is, isn't there an amount of money that I'm not allowed to go over when I buy them a gift at closing?
I think I'm gonna say, I remember 150. Has it changed?
I remembered 150 and she remembered 250.
So
So you
we,
guys are talking about the referrals.
The referrals.
Sorry. when
no,
you're-
that, I'm talking about if I want to get a referral from someone that's a
Yeah.
agent.
So the answer is there is no
Zero.
amount of money
Yeah.
Oh,
that you
Zero.
can give to your clients after you've closed.
Yeah.
You can give whatever you want. Do you want
Yeah.
to give your entire commission? Go ahead,
Yeah.
guess what? You're paying taxes on,
Yeah.
which sucks.
When, no,
So
but
no
I see
amount.
what
Now,
you're
if
saying.
you are
Yeah.
soliciting clients, if you buy with me or sell with me, I will buy you a little giant ladder. How much is the little giant ladder? $299. Okay, so $250 value. So they've changed it multiple times. I think it's $250 now.
is it?
I thought it
250?
was 250.
Yeah, see,
Dennis, what is the difference between a rebate and an inducement?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, there's huge difference.
But let's ask Dennis.
Good question.
Steve, sounds like you have the answer for that. Go ahead.
I wouldn't ask the question, I didn't know the answer. Don, do you want to give it a
We
shot?
just talked about it.
I have an
So
opinion, but I'm not.
You cannot induce people to use you. It's $0 of inducement. And if you send out, I mean, we've all made stupid comments, right? But to put it on a postcard and mail it out is an ethics violation. Do
Or
not
Facebook.
do it. You have $0 that you can offer to have somebody send you a referral.
Buy
It's
or
not
sell with me,
inducement.
use my truck for
Right,
free.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, hang on. We have so many people that were raising hands.
Yeah, a new truck for free. Yeah.
And Annie online has had her hand up for a minute too, so
Yeah.
let's get through the comments really quick.
Okay, so is that the same thing to like if you see an agent post on Facebook where they're like, oh, use me as your realtor and I'll give you $1,000 of closing?
Yeah,
You need to report.
that's an inducement.
That's an
That's
inducement.
not what-
From what I just got
Homie
educated, that's an
Isn't
inducement.
that what Homie does though?
If you close.
So-
with
Oh, they have an
them, that's
asterisk
This is
on
it,
that
yeah,
billboard.
yeah.
It's
this big,
It is there. It
Yeah.
says you have to
Makes
use,
it okay.
you use their lender and do they have title too? Yeah,
Title,
your,
yeah.
You
and
know
their
what
home
we do
warranty.
at our office? Anybody brings up any names like those, we fine them.
That's a good
I like
idea.
that.
Okay, Annie online, you
I
had a
think
question.
she's titled.
Right thought.
Yeah, I actually just had a follow-up question on that. So I have a buyer who's a dear friend of mine and I was planning to get her a pretty nice gift. But I just went under contract with DR Horton and they have an addendum saying that I can't give her a rebate of any kind. So does that, and my daughter's freaking out now that I'm talking. Adeline, calm down. But there's, so, yeah, how do I handle that? Can I say like this?
Are you allowed to share your commission with somebody? Are you allowed to pay a commission to somebody that's not licensed? No. So they mix that up with, can I give a rebate after? Can I give them money after? Sure, you can, but you're gonna take it as a commission first, pay taxes, and then you can give whatever you want. Tyler Monteith had the answer on here. No limit on gifts.
Yeah.
Okay, Donnelly, did you have something?
Yeah, just clarification on the $1,000, because I've heard that recently too, and I'm like, oh, is that it? Can we do that? Where they're doing up certificates saying, you know, $1,000 if you close with me. So they're basically advertising a rebate.
Or an inducement.
Inducement.
When we
So the
discuss
legal way to
planning, the amount
do,
is the problem, right? Like when you saying $1,000 is the problem.
And that's the problem.
and that's advertising it.
Receive a special.
So the legal way to do an inducement is to pay for somebody's closing costs and it be put on the closing documents.
Yeah.
And that way it comes out of your commission and it's a legal inducement and you don't have to pay taxes on that.
And it's disclosed.
But you
And it's
can't, you
disclosed.
can't advertise that you're willing to
No,
do that.
You're
You
not
can have
supposed
that
to.
discussion once you're with
Yeah.
the client and under.
Let's just
We wait till the
walk
last
away from this
minute
knowing, be careful what
before
you
you
say.
do.
Okay,
Well,
and if you have a question, ask us.
I have a clarification question. So I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly. No dollar amount can be advertised. However, if you would say, you know, utilize me and staging services are free, there's no dollar amount.
Right.
It's an added value service that they're
Absolutely.
providing, and that is totally legal. But if I were to put in 475 goes towards free staging, that is not allowed because
Right.
you're adding a dollar amount to the actual. added
Or I'll
value
pay for the
service.
appraisal or anything of that.
That's why the truck is free, is okay
Right.
too.
Is why is if you know. move
Yeah,
it
you
from
own the truck,
for
you insure
free,
the truck. you do
There's no
everything with the
dollar
truck.
amount. It's an added value
Right.
service that they're providing.
Or use me and I'll help you move. Very vague. How are you helping them move?
Right.
Showing up with pizza.
I
Could be anything.
I picked up a box, I moved it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're running short on time. Next question goes to Dennis. I have multiple offers and want to accept the best one. How do I tell which one is the best offer?
I use a net sheet. I don't know if everybody did, we talked about it earlier. A net sheet that where I can go down and tell the bottom line, if I got 20 offers. Everybody know what a net sheet is?
We have smart agents.
They're timid, but they got it, okay. But so the bottom line is what I look at. Then you can put it in a spreadsheet or whatever. I found that my net sheet is better because I have a lot of questions for myself to remind myself of if where the closing costs are, taxes and everything. Dawn, go ahead.
I'm biting my tongue.
She's biting her
I'm over here going, can I say something? So I've recently had this. I mean, we've all had listings and we get multiple offers. And, you know, sometimes we get offers that are $50,000, $100,000 over asking, which really looks great on a net sheet. However, there's no addendum attached to that saying that this buyer is willing to cover an appraisal gap, or they're only willing to cover 25,000 of that appraisal gap. So guess what? Your net sheet really should change to reflect what that appraisal gap coverage is, because you'll get offers in that look really pretty. Oh, purchase prices, you know, we're asking 500. We got a purchase price of $800,000. Woohoo, good for us. But there's no appraisal gap. And so guess what? They're really, the purchase price is really.
And Dennis, how do you verify what they're willing, what they can?
Before I would present that offer, I have the agent show proof of funds
Proof
of the
funds.
difference.
Yep.
We don't know what the difference is yet, but they can come back with a pretty good.
That's
well,
brilliant, right? How many of us do that with all the
Yeah.
offers? Show me proof of funds. That you guys actually have the 50.
That doesn't mean a stamped approved letter that these, no
No.
offense,
Right now.
lenders give you that, yeah, they've looked at everything, but it's based on title and anyway.
Well, how many
Something-
times does it expose that they have a house to sell? Well, we'll have it once we sell our, wait, you
Right.
didn't say.
Wait,
that.
But I like that years ago, they came down with that bottom line of the rep sheet. Do they have a house to sell?
And how many people are lying on that?
Well, that's their problem.
Exactly. But it
Well,
exposes
false
that.
fraud.
If you were to ask for that, thank you, that's awesome. Okay, so
Well,
Sophie had something online, sorry. Oh, you're on mute.
Mute there.
There you go.
I have a question. Just wanted to find out, as brokers, like what are you seeing with the Presidio agents on the listing brokerage amount? I come from a place where it always had to be 6% and there were no reductions. Before we left, my partner had like probably about $1 million that he lost in listings because we couldn't negotiate that. And so now he feels like, oh, we've just got to do like 5% listings now. And I'm kind of feeling like I don't really want to do that unless someone asks or unless it's family. What are you seeing?
I'll take
I
that
thought the
because
chief off the.
for me, it's never about the money. I mean, we are in this industry to make a profit, to make a living, but honestly, we're creating relationships with people and we want to do repeat business, right?
Thank you.
So a lot of times I will, if somebody is calling me to list their home and they're buying another home, I will take a reduced commission because I want to help them. And people talk. I mean, you want people to talk about you. Oh my gosh, she helped me so much. I had a client just recently, I listed her home just over here in Belmont condos. Her financial budget to purchase was tight. And so guess what? I did a 4% listing. I did 2 and 2, equaled it out. But guess what? I got a 3% on the purchase. And she wrote me the most glowing review. It's really not about, oh my God, am I going to make that extra 1%? It has nothing to do with that for me because it's about the relationship and she'll use me repeatedly and all of her friends will use me.
Thank you, Robbins.
Value.
That's value.
Value,
Right.
that value right there is way more than 1%. Or
That
saying,
1%,
okay,
yeah.
$1,000 to you or a closing gift or whatever. When I do reductions like that, I always make sure at closing, I write them a nice card.
Right.
And, you know, and I don't tout how much of a discount I gave them on my commission, friends and family.
Right.
But they know
Yes.
that I value our relationship and our friendship and it
Yeah.
pays tenfold.
Thank you. I definitely think every situation should be unique, and that's why
It
the
is.
brokerages that are saying it's a 6% or you may not be able to get it are coming under fire with the DOJ, right?
Right.
So I think treat every single scenario.
Well, we try to be standard with our listing side that we're offering other agents. The goal is not to go any lower than 2.5 in the office.
Right.
But the buyer side is left up totally up to us. And if I want to throw the cap fee in and pay it myself at the end, whatever, that's how we handle it. But the seller side, we want to be standard so we don't become a discount broker.
Sure, yeah, I definitely think you have value, but yeah, if you go into someone that's upside down, you better believe I'd say, okay,
Yeah,
let's figure
this out.
Well, I think it's all about like the joy of running your own business. Like what do you charge? You know, is it a friend or family? Is it a past client? Or do you feel that what you do is worth 6% no matter what situation? And you have the ability to change that and to create your own business plan as your own CEO. And I think people have to realize you have the right to set what your business parameters are.
Okay, I have 3 last questions and they're gonna go really quick. Steve, can the same buyer make offers on 2 properties at the same time?
Sure. You just have to have earnest money for each property and be ready to buy it. Now, this is a question that, is it ethical? Because you're not intending to buy one of the properties and you're misleading one of the sellers. There's nothing in writing that says you can't do it.
So I don't have to disclose to the listing agent on one that the other, that I've got another offer.
You don't have
Do you
to.
if they ask you?
Yeah.
Do you have to?
If they ask you,
That's it.
yes, you have to be
Yes,
honest
that
with
is
them.
it.
That's part of the code of ethics.
That's as us as agents, we need to pick up the phone if we have multiple offers. And I ask the agent on the other side, how many offers do you have out right now on
Great
other
question.
properties?
Mhm.
It's a simple question.
Great
That's
question.
why
Non-refundable earnest
don't
money
ask that
came
question.
about.
Well, they're obligated to.
In our area, we do limited, but we also ask, are any of the offers buyers being represented by you as the
Right.
listing agent?
Yeah.
That's a great question to ask too.
And you have to disclose that.
Obviously, we're learning
When
that
asked.
communication
Or
is
is it in
key,
the
right?
office? Because sometimes they're more. prefer
yeah.
the people in the office.
Right.
Okay, great. Let's see. Don, what are the best words to write an escalation clause? This is the
Oh.
hugest thing.
She has a
right now in the industry. So listen up and
I
know
have
that.
a
Everyone's
thing
gonna
for
help.
that.
Can you email that to us?
Do we
So
have another
I will
hour?
be happy to send this out
I want
because this
that.
is quite lengthy, but it really is about, the bottom line is defining and being extremely clear on what your parameters are. Because a lot of people say, oh, I'm gonna do $1,000 and they don't put a cap on it over a highest offer. And then what does that mean? And some people don't ask for proof of the other offer, so they could be making it up. We have, people that do lie in this industry, unfortunately. I don't think it's right, but it happens. So I will be happy to share this with everybody, but it's quite lengthy. I received this from another agent. I always believe that never reinvent the wheel, just copy and paste and make it better for you. So this is a really cool escalation clause. I think there's been some comments on the difference between net proceeds and gross proceeds. If you are going to say those words, define them. Define them, because that is going to be defined.
So what do you
differently
think
with
net
each-
means?
With each agent.
After commissions are paid, after everything's paid.
Commissions?
Commissions, contingencies,
Home warranties.
home warranties,
Concessions?
closing costs.
Closing
all the
costs.
After all
fees.
costs.
Do you see
They're
how many
costs.
different variations there are?
What's the net going into the buyer, into the seller pocket?
How much are they actually watching?
Sometimes they just believe it's just the closing costs.
Mhm.
Because on the MLS, it says net and gross. Well, on the MLS, I'm only paying you as a listing agent on the net, which is minus closing costs. Is that the same for when we have escalation clause?
So in this example, I'll just read this paragraph really quickly. The following terms will apply to increase the purchase price of this offer if prior to seller's acceptance of this REPC, seller receives one or more additional bona fide written offers to purchase the property, competing offers, with terms acceptable to seller, which would result in equal or higher net proceeds. And then it says purchase price minus any seller concessions. So it's defined directly. So if the seller is making any concessions for closing costs, that is their definition of net proceeds, not what title insurance is going to cost. It's just seller's concessions.
Would you consider the home warranty seller's concession?
I would, yeah. Because it's a reduction in the purchase price. And it's written on the contract.
People have to remember that though.
But I'd be happy to share this. I'll send it to Jen and send it out. But I thought this was brilliant. And I think that I think this is something that the board should actually look at and actually create a standard escalation clause. But that's
Totally
just
agree
me.
with that.
When I write escalation clauses to my little buyers, I say, would you feel bad if you lost this because of $500?
Right,
I says, I want you to make that cap
right,
hurt a little bit
right.
Yeah.
if you want this house. Because if a month from now, you still don't have a house and you look back and say, oh my word, it went for $500 over what I
I
offered.
missed that.
I stretch them.
Right, no, I agree.
Good, okay, you guys, we've kind of gone a little bit over, we did pretty good. Anybody have, oh yes, sorry, we do have another one.
Okay,
Steve,
so-
tell us about this.
First, Don, it's not the board, it's
Oh,
UAR.
UAR, it's the
Yeah.
MLS.
I say
Yeah.
that all the time.
So
Yeah.
the UAR Forms
Those-
Committee can
Powers
adopt
to be.
something like that. So this is the appraisal addendum that I absolutely don't like at all. And so when they came to me and said, hey, we made a change to the appraisal addendum, I got excited until they told me what the change was. So I'm going to read to you what it says, then I'm going to read to you their new change, and it's not out yet, but it will be out soon. So it's under section 1A appraisal guarantee. In the event the property appraises for less than the purchase price, but more than blank, the appraisal floor, right? Buyer agrees, blah, 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 okay? So they've added some words right there. It will now say, the appraisal guarantee, in the event the property appraises for less than the purchase price, but more than, and they're adding, or equal to the price. Buyer agrees that the purchase price shall not be reduced. So they're adding the words or equal to the price, because they had less than and more than, but they never had equal. So that's all they're doing. I still hate the form.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's so confusing. too.
Yeah.
Well, we all had.
Her
to learn in the
escalation
last
clause
2
covers it
years
better.
What an escalation clause was. We all had to run our business around this new market of, now I have to do escalation clauses and appraisal floor, and we all learned it together. So there was a lot of like, oh, I made a mistake on that one.
Karen has a question on the chat.
Okay, Karen. Oh, is intention one of the key elements of a legal contract? If so, on submitting multiple offers, wouldn't that apply?
Your
Intent?
intent is to buy that home, but you have an offer on another home if you don't get that one. That's what she's asking.
That's why Steve was saying your earnest money is technically at risk. That's what I always tell any agent that calls me and says, can we write multiple offers on lots of properties? I mean, you're putting your client in a position where they could owe earnest money on certain properties, especially if you do hard earnest money upon acceptance.
Yep.
And how many, this is a huge issue I'm having right now. People are putting hard earnest money and then they want to fight it after when something goes south.
Like an
Have you guys had that
FHA.
issue?
Yes.
Yeah,
Just like Karen's comment here, that's intent. You intended
Yeah.
to move forward on that contract, and even though something went bad that you think it's the seller's fault now, You intended $1,000
Well,
cost.
In my
Yeah.
opinion, non-refundable means non-refundable.
It's gone.
That's not up for argument.
Yeah.
So what is up for argument is the hard earnest money, and then it's an FHA or VA loan,
Right.
That's a good
right? Because in the FHA addendum, it says right there that it's protected. And in the amendatory clause, Paul, it says the exact same language as the addendum. And so then, you know, people are getting all upset because they said it's hard earned money, but now it's protected by the federal form.
What if the seller writes an additional addendum or phrase that says,
That they want to remove
FHA,
that?
NVA,
Yeah,
removes it?
guess what? They can't, because it's a federal form and you can't override a federal form
You're
or
changing
remove
the
documents
But
to
if
a
the
federal
buyer
form.
doesn't make it contingent on appraisal, and then they're trying to cancel an FHA offer based on the appraisal, then what we were figuring out is it wouldn't hold.
Your bottom line is if it's FHA, VA,
You
don't
cannot
do-
do hard money.
don't do hard money.
Cassandra?
I want to add to this, this is something that Curtis talked about in the 3-hour mandatory class. If it's the first initial earnest money deposit, then you cannot waiver the non-refundable earnest money. But if you do an additional earnest money deposit, that's attached to the Rep C and not the FHA addendum. So that additional earnest money deposit can be
I get
non-refundable.
that.
Right, right.
That's the way to get around it.
It's all about educating your clients. Commercial, our forms are completely different, and I had a transaction where I don't even think the commercial agent had reviewed it with the seller, that there was non-refundable earnest money if they extended the contract. Because when it came time for them to extend the contract and we let them know, okay, this is non-refundable now, the seller or the buyer had no clue that he'd even accepted that, so.
Yeah.
Educate. and be a
Okay, any
better-
last
be a
questions
better
or
agent.
thoughts? Thank you, Sherman. On multiple offers, so I've had a spreadsheet, that I've used for years. And this is the first instance that I had one name that was kind of common and then another name that wasn't quite so common. We're becoming very diverse. And I questioned, like I used to have buyers, the agent, but I questioned if I should even put the buyer's names on that spreadsheet when the seller is reviewing.
I
the
never,
offers.
you know what I put on? The agent's name. So that's how I distinguish between.
I put
that's
1 through
from
10.
so-and-so.
That's, okay, I'm gonna start
That's a good
doing that
thing, too.
because one name just stood out, differently
I
than the
never
other
did.
ones, and I didn't. We ended up accepting the name that was not quite as common. And so, but I question if I should have even put the last names where that could have come up later.
It could be a
as
fair housing
discrimination.
issue.
It could
Yeah.
be.
Sellers
Yeah.
do that a lot.
I just put the agent.
Sure.
Well, technically, you're sending all the contracts to your seller anyway.
Right.
So even though
Yeah.
you're showing them the spreadsheet, if they care enough to go through and Facebook everyone, as they do sometimes, and that's them doing it.
Can
not
I,
you.
can I throw one other thing that we're having happen up at our area is transfer fees in HOAs or investment fees. What we had up at the office, why it came up is 2 of our buyers could not get the loan because that additional funds that threw them over. So just heads up, Chelsea had one like that and it really, they had to walk away because of the transfer fees or reinvestment fees. And they're getting out of hand. I'm talking 1.5%.
Yeah.
So,
We think sellers are getting greedy, those HOAs are getting greedy.
yeah, so heads up on that one.
Thank you, that's a really good point. Also, when you are listing a condo, and does everyone know the difference between a condo and a townhome? What?
Do you own airspace or do you own land?
Stacy, will you tell us?
A difference? Well, when you have a condo, you have a shared area that you have an interest in, but you don't own it.
So a townhome could be a condo,
Townhome
correct?
Could be considered the same thing.
Which-
It's all in the CCNRs, let me just tell you, that's why it's important to read.
Even
because
a
some
twin home
don't.
could be a condo,
A
right,
twin home
Stacy?
can also be considered.
So
as a-
then,
Yes,
the
it
question
can.
I'm bringing up here is, when you list one and they have a limit on how many can be
Yes.
investors in there,
That is
are
so
you looking
important.
into that?
Percentages of.
Even twin homes might have these.
This is not, this is unofficial, but telling the difference there. I always look at the gas meters. If the gas meters are going into each one instead of a whole set of 4 or 8 on the end, because gas, Dominion Gas has to have utility right of ways to it. And usually they gotta see some kind of a tax ID number to be able to do that at
That's
each one.
great advice. So
That's
if you're the listing
unofficial.
agent,
That's
is
just
it
how
your
I've done
job
it.
to
Never.
find out if the FHA, I mean, sorry, the investor rule has been, is it your job?
Yes.
Okay, so what if while you have it listed for a month, it goes from 90% to 100% investors in that? And you put on the MLS that it's a conventional FHA VA loan can get it.
You have to change it.
Okay.
Well, and right now, there's a lot of developers, which is really, I don't know why we're seeing this, but we're seeing where they developed it as a PUD and then they switched it to a condo. That can make a difference.
Right.
So you really.
So
do
probably
need to
call your title
understand.
company
Yes.
and
you
find
do
out,
need to
right?
Here, while you brought up PUDs, let's throw one more out.
Yeah.
PIDs.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I don't know how many
That
understand
doesn't come up very
PIDs.
often out here in Utah
We've
County.
seen it
They're
over in Bear
starting
Lake
to.
now. So that again, they always
Tell
tell
them
me
what it is.
I use my.
Tell them what PID is.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, what's happening is they're building the pool or swing sets, play yard, but they're gonna throw that cost of their loan is gonna go back to the potential buyer. And that's gonna mark, and it'll increase their taxes dramatically.
PID, what does the I stand for?
Infrastructure.
Planned infrastructure development.
Development.
So whose fault is it if it's disclosed incorrectly on the MLS?
The listing agent.
The listing agent? How many of you, when you list your property, send the MLS to your sellers and say, verify that everything is correct on here? I do.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people do.
I don't know if your
literally
sellers
say-
will know what a PI.
Well,
and-
not only that, but other
The
things.
cities don't
You're
even know
held
some
liable.
of them. I'm looking at the title lately. I'm sorry. I
We're
don't
not,
remember.
because we're not used to it as much, and so now it's starting to become one of the norms, so you do have to understand that terminology.
Yeah, okay, we could do this for hours, and so I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming and coming with great questions. Thank you to our panelists. We have gifts for them. Girls get the hats, the guy gets.
Come see me in my office. I have your gift.
gift.
Do you guys see ADUs coming on, like, they're gonna change like the listing forms because they are really popping up.
This could be an
everywhere.
hour in
That's a good
itself.
question.
I know it could. What's an ADU?
Accessory